Good afternoon, children. I am Zaida, your English teacher. Today I am going to explain you the lesson The Case of the Sharp-Eyed Jeweler, written by Nicholas Bentley. This lesson is taken from your English literature book, lesson number 8. Before we start reading, let us know some qualities of a good detective. What are the qualities of a good detective? The qualities are cleverness, common sense, concentration, alertness, determination, and clear observing, and sharp eyed. These are the qualities of a good detective. Now, let us read the lesson. Now, read the story about a jeweler's assistant who fails an attempt to steal an expensive ring by virtue of his vigilance. In this lesson is the narrator who is the jeweler's assistant. He tried to fail an attempt of stealing a ring. False an attempt means to fail an attempt to steal the expensive, very costly ring. By virtue of his vigilance means because of his careful observation and alertness. First, let me introduce myself. My name is William Morris. Now, the narrator introduces himself as William Morris. I am a very ordinary man, except that I use my eyes and my common sense more than most people do. He says that he is a very ordinary man, but he uses his eyes and his common sense to greater extent than normally the people does. My hobby is perhaps a little out of ordinary, and he says that his hobby is little bit different than the ordinary habits what other people have. It is the study of crime and criminal. His hobby is to study the crime and criminals, the person who has done a crime, and though for the past 30 years I have made a study of crime stories of greatest author from Edgar Allan Poe to Agatha Christie. Now he says that he happened to read this detective story. He has the hobby of reading this detective story from past 30 years. He had been reading these stories of the greatest author like Edgar Allan Poe and Agatha Christie. These are the writers who have written the detective stories. And here I must say that the stories I have enjoyed are not those where the detective is an extraordinarily person, extraordinarily favored by fortune, but where he is just an ordinary man who uses his eyes and his common sense to the full. Now he says that he doesn't enjoy this type of story where every situation is in the favor of the person and the detective becomes the hero of the story. But he enjoys this type of story where the person who is an ordinary person and he uses his common sense and his eyes to observe the people and then come to a conclusion. I love to watch people. Some men love to watch the behavior of birds, others the behavior of fish, but I love to watch how men and women behave. Now what he says, he love to watch people, and some people they love watching behavior of bird, and others they like watching behavior of fish. But this narrator, he love watching men and women how they behave. I have the habit of observing everything they do, the way they walk, speak and pray. Now he says that he has the habit of observing them minutely, how they sit, how they stand, how they walk, how they speak, and the way of praying, everything he observes it minutely, very carefully. what they eat, read, wear, and wish for. And apart from that, what type of eating habits they have, what type of books they read, what type of dresses they wear, and what are their wishes, everything he observes it minutely, very carefully. Nothing ever escapes my sharp eye. And he says that everything, whatever they do, it doesn't escape from his eyes. His observation is so keen. Of course, you cannot learn much from one fact, but if you put two or more facts together, you can learn a great deal. What he says that you can't learn anything from one fact. You can't observe a person from one fact. You can't know about him only with one fact. One fact means one truth. You have to put two or three things together to know about it, about that activity or about that incident. I admit that I am only guessing at the truth. And again he says that it is just a guessing. You can't say that by looking at them and looking at their dressing, you can judge everything 100%. It is just a guessing that whatever he thinks, the way they are, their behavior, he look at their behavior, maximum comes out to be correct. That my guesses may be wrong, and now he says that his guesses may be wrong. All the same, it is an interesting pastime and I thoroughly enjoy it. And he says that it may be wrong, his guesses may be wrong, but whatever it may be, all the same, it is an interesting pastime for him. I have told you something about my hobbies and habits, and now I shall speak of my work. Now he told something about his habit and his hobby. His hobby is to read the book related with the crime and criminals, and his habit is to observe people. So he had discussed much about this hobbies and the habit. Now want to tell something about his work. What is his work? I am a jeweler, or more accurately a jeweler's assistant. Now he says that he is a jeweler, and then he says elaborately that more accurately means correctly. It is very correctly to say that he is a jeweler's assistant. He is not a jeweler, he is just a jeweler's assistant. This may not strike you as anything important or unusual. This may not strike you, means not strike in your mind that it is something important or unusual. It is not different. It is just a common thing that he is working in a jeweler's shop. But when I tell you that I am working for Rigners, I am sure that you will be impressed. Now, he says that if I tell you that I am working for the Richtner, that means if he tells the people that he is working for the Richtner, then everybody will be impressed. Why? Because the Richtners have such type of name, such a big well established shop, jeweler shop. So if you tell them you work for the Richtners, automatically the person will get impressed that you are working for such a big shop. Everyone knows Richtner, which is famous for antique jewelry, and that it sells at price that only the very rich can afford. Now, what type of jewelry shop it is? These Richtners sell very expensive things, antique jewelry. Antique jewelry means the old traditional jewelries which are from so many years, which are very old, that it sells at price that only very rich can afford, and they sell at the price very rich people can afford. Normally the average people with an average income can't afford those jewelry. Our principal customer. Our principal customer means main customers are millionaire. Millionaire means very rich people, those who can afford those jewelries. Oil kings, film stars, heroes of the football field. All these rich people who are having their oil fields, film stars, and their heroes, the football players, they are their customers. And people of that class means all the people belonging to the rich class are their customer. The jeweler. Jewels we sell are never less than 300 years old, and the jewel what they sell is not less than 300 years old. Some of them have a romantic history. Means some of the jewelry they have romantic history, means an attractive history. Many had once been the gift of a prince to some reigning beauty of his time, and many of them have been a gift to the reigning beauty. Reigning beauty means the rising beauties, who are going to become the possessing the throne after one king. So they are known as the reigning beauty. So they have been gifted to those princes who are going to become the king. The first thing I do when I get to work in the morning is to put in the window some pieces of jewelry which are always kept in the safe overnight. Now what he says that first thing what he does when he go to his shop is to take out the put all the windows some pieces of jewelry. He used to keep all the display the jewelry which was kept in the safe for overnight, means for the whole night it will be kept in the safe, and in the morning it is his duty to arrange those jewelry. I was doing this on that eventful day, means on that particular day. Eventful day means on particular day. On that particular day he was doing this work when this incident happened. When I noticed a young woman standing in front of a shop on the opposite side of the street, and he observed that a woman was standing in the opposite side of the road. Her eyes were fixed on the display in the shop windows, and what she was looking, her eyes was fixed, means she was looking at the shop window, something which was displayed there, and she stood there all the time. It took me to arrange over display quite 15 to 20 minutes, and when he was arranging those trays, it took him nearly 15 to 20 minutes. During that time he was observing that lady. And what do you think she was staring at? Staring means looking at a particular thing for a long time without blinking the eyes. So that lady was staring at something. Well, the shop is an undertaker's, and in the window there was nothing but 2 urns for holding the ashes of the dead. Now what she was looking, that the shop belonged to the undertakers. Who is an undertaker? A person whose job is to prepare dead bodies for cremation. So that type of shop it was. And what was there displayed in the window? It was 2 urns. 2 urns means 2 pots for holding the ashes. After the cremation ceremony and all, the ashes of the dead body are put in that. So those pots are known as urns. So those urns were displayed in the window. She was looking at that. And some photographs of the gravestone and the graveyard stones which are to be put on the grave, those stones she was looking at. Her interest in such things struck me as very strange, and her interest looking at those urns and graveyard stones, it struck me. It seems very unusual to this William Morris. The thought crossed my mind that some dear to her had died. Now, by seeing that lady, she was standing in front of the undertaker's shop, he thought that some dear to her might have died. But she was not wearing black or any other sign of mourning. Black or any other sign of mourning. Mourning means sadness. So whenever there is a type funeral, a person wears a black dress. So she was not wearing black dress. She was in fact wearing a bright yellow coat with a vivid zigzag pattern running all over it and yellow sandals. Instead of black dress, what the woman was wearing, she was wearing yellow dress with a zigzag pattern, black color, and sandal was also yellow color. I finished arranging the jewels in the window and was still keeping one eye on the young woman when a man came into our shop. Now, when he just finished arranging the jewel in the window and he was still having the watch on that lady, a man came to the shop. It was immediately plain to me that he was an American. And looking at that man, it was very much clear to him that he was an American man. One of the gum chewing American who was they have the habit of chewing gum. So he also, by looking at him when he was chewing gum, he could identify that he was an American. An American is the easiest of all to pick out. An American, we can make out the American very easily by their looks. So there is his haircut, his tie in so many bright colors. So looking at his dressing sense, he could make out that he is an American because the haircut, seeing his haircut and his tie in so many bright color, it was multicolor. And then so often you find him chewing that dreadful chewing gum, and every time you can find that man eating chewing gum. Dreadful means very badly, too much of chewing. He was a big, strongly built man, and he was a very big, tall, strongly built man with a red face that showed he had drunk more than was good for him, and it showed that his face was very much red. It showed that he had consumed a lot of wine, which was not good for his health. His suit was a darkish grey, but his tie was a mixture of exceedingly bright color. His suit was darkish grey in color, but his tie was a mixture of exceedingly means more than enough bright colors. It was a mixture of bright color, more than enough what is required. I took him to be about 35 years old, and he guessed his age, that it seemed to be 35 years old. He seemed to be 35 years old to him. "Good morning, sir," I said. "May I help you?" And he greeted him saying that, "Good morning, sir. How can I help you?" "Well," he said, rolling the chewing gum round his mouth. And he was just chewing that gum round his mouth, and he said that, and speaking with a strong Yankee accent. Strong Yankee accent means an American accent. "I would like to look at some rings." And he said that he wanted to have a look at some rings. "Certainly, sir. Is there any particular kind you have in mind?" Now he said that, "Yes, surely I am going to show you the rings, but I want to know any particular kind you have in your mind." So what happens when a person go to a shop to buy certain things, maybe a dress or any other commodities, or maybe some jewelry or ornament, they have some particular design or a particular thing or shape in their kind in their mind or the category. So he tried to judge that what type of ring he wanted, in what range he wanted. So certainly, I guess not. He had just to show me some. And then he said that, No, I don't have any idea. Just you show me some rings so that I can choose any one out of it. I opened the safe and took out a tray of rings to show him and to get some idea of what he wanted. And he opened the safe and took out the tray of rings to show him and get the idea that what he wanted. He picked out 2 or 3 of them and asked the price of them. He happened to take out 2 or 3 and asked the price. I noticed that he was left-handed, and while he was doing all these things, William Morris noticed that the American was left-handed. It was clear that he knew nothing at all about precious stone. By his behavior, he could guess that he doesn't know anything about the precious stones and their nature of their setting. And he doesn't even know the nature of setting, what type of stones are there, what are the precious stone, how they are set. The price was a measure by which he judged them, and only he could judge that how it is less expensive or more expensive by the price whatever William Morris was telling. So the person who has the knowledge of these things, they know what they want to buy and what is their cost. They know everything about this type of jewelry. But this American was not at all having any idea about these things. There was one most beautiful ring with diamond and rubies. This diamond and rubies are the precious stones. So it was a ring made of diamonds and rubies, set in the shape of a flower, and these diamonds and rubies were arranged in the shape of a flower. It was well over 300 years old. And how many years old it was? 300 years old, and had been in the possession of a royal family. Possession means that family was having, that it was their property. Mr. Regner had set a very high price on it, and Mr. Regner had set a very high price for that ring because he did not really wish to sell it. And why he had set that high price? Because he really did not wish to sell that, yet he had displayed it in the tray. Mr. Regner was like that. And he was little bit different person. His nature was like that. There were some of his jewels that he loved as. Why? Because some of the jewels are there, some ornaments were there which he loved as, like somebody loves his children. So it was like that. He was very much fond of that ring, much as he loved his children. The American preferred this flower ring to all the others, and this American preferred that flower ring to all other. Instead of all other ring, he chose, out of all those rings, he chose that flower ring. But he complained that the price was too high, and he complained that the price is very much high. He wants that ring, but he is not satisfied with the price, but he wants to purchase that. He asked to see some other rings, and I showed him 3 more trays. And again what he asked for some more rings, so he showed 3 more trays. But he was still unsatisfied. He did not want to buy all those things. Some more things he wants, some more rings he wanted to see. His eyes then fell on 4th tray. Again his eyes fell on he saw the 4th tray is also there. Let me have a look in that also. So was still inside, but that tray was still inside the safe, whose door I had left open, and the door of that safe was left open by William Morris. So he saw that tray inside that safe. I guess I would better take a look at those as well, he said. And he said that better I want to have a look at those rings also which are kept in the safe. I turned to take the tray out of the safe, and then William Morris turned back to take the tray out from the safe, then turned quickly back again to put the tray on the counter. Then he again turned back to put the tray on the counter. It was then I saw that the diamond and ruby ring had disappeared. Now what he saw? He saw that the diamond and the ring at that moment, immediate moment, he saw that the diamond and the ruby ring had been disappeared. It was misplaced. It was not there in the tray. I made a sign to Mrs. Skin, another assistant, and she came and stood beside me. And he made a sign, some gestures he made to Mrs. Skin. So she came and stood beside William Morris. Then I said to American, I see that you have decided on the flower ring, sir. If you will kindly hand it to me, I will find a suitable box for it. Now he requested that I think you have decided for the flower ring. You please give the ring to me so that I can find a suitable box in which it can be kept and given to you. I held out my hand and then he held out his hand. He stretched his hand in front of that American. I hadn't decided on anything yet. Now American said, I hadn't decided on any of the ring. I did not choose any of the ring. The American said, the American said he did not choose any of the ring. I am not the one who is going to decide. He said that he is not going to decide which ring he has to buy. I am just picking out 2 or 3 rings for my wife to choose from. Now what explanation he is giving? That he is just selecting 2 to 3 rings for his wife. When his wife comes, at that time he will select 1 ring out of those 2 to 3 rings. She will be coming in later. Later means she will be coming afterwards. This morning to make her choice. She will be coming afterwards to make her choice. But the flower ring, where is it? Now again William Morris said, where is the flower ring? But I asked in dismay. Dismay means confusion. There was a confusion, the flower ring is not in the tray, and then he is telling that I haven't taken. Then I turned to Miss Susskind, and then William Morris turned towards Miss Susskind. Will you please ask Mr. Regener to come here? I said. Now William Morris said Miss Susskind to please call Mr. Regener so that he can clarify all the doubt, whatever the confusion has occurred here. I came out from my side of the counter and began searching for the ring. And he came out from the counter and started searching the ring. The American joined in the search, and this American also joined in this search. And so did Mr. Regener and Mrs. Skin. And then along with him, Mr. Regener also joined, and along with Mr. Regener, Mrs. Skin also joined for the search. I could see that Mr. Regener was most upset, but he was doing his best to keep calm. He was most upset, but what? He was just trying to keep calm. He was not showing his anger on anyone, that he is a little bit nervous and tense. Then Mrs. Skin said, I think that you ought to look in the turn-ups of his trousers. Now what Mrs. Skin gave an idea that you ought to means you can see in the turn-ups. Turn-ups of the trousers means where the trousers are folded. In that fold you please see. The suggestion was a reasonable one, means it can be accepted. We can go through that suggestion. It can be accepted. The suggestion was accepted by William Morris. It is quite easy for something small to drop in the turn-ups of the trouser leg. Now he just thought that anything small can be thrown inside can go inside the turn-ups, as the ring was very small. And Mrs. Skin, who is a very kind person, meant him no harm. And this Miss Suskin was very calm and quiet lady. Her intention was not to harm anyone, but he turned on her with a very ugly look. But this American was very much angry at her, so he happened to look at her in an angry mood. His face turned even redder than before, and again his face also became redder than before. And I noticed that he had stopped chewing. Now, this is the moment where William Morris saw the American, noticed the American that he had stopped chewing the gum. His jaw moved as if he was a fierce dog ready to bite. That means the American was so angry, it was looking as if he is going to attack someone. So, that is the meaning here, fierce dog ready to bite. It is a type of phrase when a person gets angry, we use this type of phrase. That means a person who is very angry. So, American was very much angry at Miss Suskin. It was a dangerous moment and I felt afraid. And it was very dangerous moment because they were not getting the ring and everybody was tense and upset. And even William Morris was also very much afraid because he was the only responsible person for that shop. But Miss Huskin stood there perfectly calm. On the other hand, Miss Huskin was a very calm and quiet lady. She stood very much calm. Then the American bent down and felt round his turnips, and I helped him too. But there was nothing there. And now what happened? This American also bent down and looked into his turnip, and he could not find anything there. Even William Morris also checked, he could not find anything there. The American laughed. Now this American became very confident. He did not get anything. There is no proof that ring is missing or I have stolen. So he became confident enough and he started laughing. The American laughed. So, children, this was the first part of the lesson, the case of sharp-eyed jeweler. The second part of this lesson will be sent in the next session. Till then, goodbye and take care.